we give our first impressions of the new Volkswagen Arteon sedan, talk about whether low-profile tires make sense on a pickup truck, and discuss what current car you will see at a classic car show in 20 years. Next on Talking Cars. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode. I'm John Linkove.
I'm Ryan Pizlakowski.
And I'm Jake Fisher.
And you know, it's deep in the summertime. There's car shows everywhere, vintage cars, new cars, stanced cars that are all sitting low with their airbags and the wheels split out. And it got us to thinking, you know, what car today would be vintage down the road? What would you buy today and hold on to so that you can bring it to one of these shows in 20 years, or, you know, in my case, probably only 10, because I'll be old. So, you know, we sat around the board, we looked at the car board, we looked at some of our stuff on consumerreports.org. It was like, what card's going to work for me? So I'm going to toss it to Ryan first. What is it? What's the car that's going to move you in 20 years?
I think this is a very difficult question because the cars nowadays don't seem like the cars that are vintage today that we see. Then they didn't know they were going to be vintage, vintage. They're going to be vintage at some point. Are they going to be desirable or could meet? So I think
it wasn't an investment.
So I think a lot of what goes into that is, are they common? Is there a lot of them made? If there's a million of these cars made, then that waters it down, right? So for a car today, it's hard to say how many they're going to make of those if they're selling them right now, right? So I don't know the best answer to this. I think.
Well, you're going
to think I'm crazy, but
there's not a best because it's all your personal.
I think the Gladiator, the Jeep Gladiator, is unique enough now. I don't know how many they're going to sell or make, but I think it's a unique vehicle that I never thought they would make. For one, I thought it was just a pipe dream, and they made it. I think it's pretty cool. People love Jeeps. I think they're going to like that, but I don't know. You know, will it stick? Will they make a million of them, and that might ruin it? I don't know.
Right.
So that's my pick.
Okay. So we have a Jeep product. And it's popular because people, in the sense that people made aftermarket versions of that to have one. So
it costs a lot of money.
And they do. You think back Jeeps all cost a lot of money.
Right. You think back at like the Scrambler, and they've had stuff like that. It didn't last that long, but now like when you see one, it's kind of unique, you know, and you see them at car shows every now and again.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. So,
Jake,
that's my pick.
What? You go in the same direction?
I like your pick. I mean, look, you know, first of all, you're totally right. You know, I mean, you know, I think about like the cars that my parents had as a kid. They had two cars at one point. They had a 1966 Volkswagen microbus, and they had a 1966 Chrysler 300 convertible. So the Chrysler 300 convertible was like the car that like they were asking us to go to the parade with. You know, I mean, like, oh my God, it was amazing, whatever. Yeah. Today, that microbus,
it's worth
which they sold for $100.
Sure.
Is worth way more than that Chrysler. So you're right. You're totally right.
You just don't know.
You know, it has to do with, you know, are they around and whatnot. And the other thing is we don't know what car shows are going to look like in the future. So what I see now with a lot of car shows, it's not just the car show. It's like the American Muscle show. It's the, you know.
It's diverse.
Yeah, and then you get the ones that are like, the supercar show, and then you get like the Japanese car show. And, you know, now there's like Radwood, you know, like these 80s and 90s cars, which I grew up with. You know, so it's going to be diversified, but what I think, they're going to see a lot more trucks. So you think about what's desirable for like teens these days, it's going to be like the Raptor, you know, it's going to be like the F-150 Raptor and these big trucks, these amazing power that we're seeing out of some of these cars. I mean, you're going to see the Dodge Demon and all these guys.
Unique versions.
Right, it's going to be that. But if you really think about it in terms of the auto industry right now, like what is the vehicle that really kind of turned everyone around? What it was like, oh my God, this huge big deal and stole in the stores. It's a Tesla Model S. The Tesla Model S still is like, you know, I mean, it stole the one where like the kids are like, oh, look, there's one of those, you know, and they you know, there's this whole aura around it. Like, that's that self-driving car, you know, it's not, but there's that whole thing about it. And because, you know, Tesla has really kind of moved on to the Tesla Model 3, and that's going to be the high volume vehicle. It is the high volume vehicle. You know, the S, who knows? We'll see, you know.
What about the X? Not sold in as great numbers, very unique, the doors.
But it was, and maybe, you know, it's not as popular, it's not as...
So there you go.
But maybe the X, you know, maybe you're right. You know, you go to the car show and all of a sudden it goes, you know, and the doors go up. You know, and we don't know. I mean, look, you know, an Edsel would be pretty cool right now at a car show, even though it was kind of a joke at the time. But, you know, We don't know.
Different attributes get these cars to those car shows. Is it unique? Is it just was it so extreme at the time that it's just like nostalgic thing?
What I like about also, your pick also is that you look at the cars that are selling for like over sticker. The cars that are like huge demand and there's waiting lists, and like that kind of tells you something about them too. Not always. I mean, look, people are on waiting lists for like the PT Cruiser, and who knows? Maybe that'll be a deal.
Well, will a Ford Focus ST have that same holding because people paid over sticker, or the Mustang Cobra R,
or the Honda
Shelby
Civic R,
Type R? Yeah, exactly. But will it be okay?
What'd you pick?
Your first point. My dad bought a 1965 Corvette in '73. Why'd the guy sell it? He bought a Firebird or a Camaro, with automatic and a base. So like now the Corvette would definitely be worth more than some base Firebird that the guy had to get because it was brand new. But the same type of thing. What do you choose? I kind of went in the first sense of what's unique or what's hard to get or
very
fewer.
Confident about this choice.
Well, I have two choices. I have two choices. One, I thought maybe, okay, if you're looking at a sporty car that's going to be a replacement for like the old Mustang of the era, Volkswagen Golf R. Yeah, they don't sell a lot of them.
Yeah,
sure.
Mm-hmm. But then I looked, okay, so in that sense of what moved a market, the earlier Chrysler 300s, but particularly the Dodge Magnum, was different looking. That was the style, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, the style!" And then Ford came out with the Ford Taurus, and they're like, "Oh my God, the not style!" The lack. And I think it's chopped, but not too chopped. The Magnum. Sure, you want to go current Chrysler 300, but I think that's a car that might move people that you'll see at a show down the road.
Yeah.
It depends on what happens in the market. If we are at big car maximum right now,
sure.
And like we do see some, whether or not it's regulation or whatever, we're going to see the V8s go away. We're already seeing V6 go away. Everything's turbo Fords, right? Yeah. But I mean, like these vehicles with these big V8 powertrains and huge pickup trucks, with like long beds and V10s. Yep. I mean, these things may go away. Where it's like, wow, 40 years ago they really made a truck that's with a 130-inch wheelbase and a V10 engine and all these things.
It's jacked up this high. Yeah,
exactly.
I think it'll be interesting because in 10 years, in 40 years, the car from 10 years from now will just drive itself to the show. And it'll tell you how well it did, and it'll bring the trophy home, and you just sit back and go,
Great imagination.
On that note, we're gonna move to what's new in our test fleet, which may eventually be a classic. It's the Volkswagen Arteon. For those who don't know what it is, it's a very swoopy, curvaceous four-door sedan, but has a coupe-like look. The Germans actually kind of interpret it. A four-door sedan.
What's a sedan?
What's a sedan? Not selling as much as SUVs. SUVs are the market, and sedans.
That is the best answer you could possibly come up with.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a trunk. It's
let me get to this. I have information.
You got a thing?
I have a thing. It's my thing. So yes, it looks like a sedan. It has a hatchback, a liftback. It raises up, much like say the Tesla Model S had. Audi A7. Yeah. So again, ours is a 2.0T SEL with 4Motion. So in non-Volkswagen language, that's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Makes 268 horsepower, has an 8-speed automatic transmission, drives all 4 wheels. So our version has 4-wheel drive. There is a 2-wheel drive version, front-wheel drive version. The big thing is I ended up negotiating this car. MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price, $43,475 with delivery. We paid $38,900, which is a big discount for a car.
Well done.
Yes, I know. I got them down. Wow. The big thing is
and you went anonymously.
Well, that's the thing is that for those who don't know, we do not go into the dealership and tell them who we are and expect a car, for us. In fact, to make sure that the car is a representative sample of what anyone else can get, we do everything anonymously. The big thing, and I know I'm chatting a lot before I get you guys your opinion, but in February 2018, this car, we previewed it on consumerreports.org. It's a year and a half until they bring it out, which is kind of long gestation period. But Jake, the big thing about this is that, like the Volkswagen CC, its predecessor, it has a little more of the old Volkswagen-ness to it.
So I mean, here's the deal. why is there an Arteon, right? I mean, why are they coming up with this other sedanish vehicle, right? And the truth is that a couple of years ago, what Volkswagen did was they kind of drew a line. So do you do a global car or do you do a specific car for different markets? And Volkswagen traditionally used to always do these global cars. And this is why like the Volkswagen Rabbit and the Jetta, and, it was all kind of like a little more grown up than maybe some of the competitors and a little more expensive because it was like the same Jetta and the same Golf that was all over the world.
A little more fun to drive or engaging or something like that.
Sure.
That
maybe
Germanness.
Well, and maybe something that's more important to Europeans, but it filters down over here. But what they did with a few generations ago is they kind of drew this line in the sand and they said, okay, we're going to make one Passat that is going to be for the North American market and China. And then Europe, we're going to get a different Passat.
Right.
And because that different Passat, because a car that size in Europe, well, they could put more content in it and they could sell it for a higher price.
Yes.
And they could get the one that's in China and North America that we get. It's going to be less expensive. And, maybe it's not quite as quiet or it doesn't have that handling finesse or whatever those things. But, we just want room and we want fuel economy and nice cup holders.
Well, they look to grow. They needed to grow their market. They were always higher priced than the Toyota Camry or the Honda Accord. And they said, okay, well, here's what we do. We slightly decontent it and make it on par.
Right, exactly. So right now, if you look at the Jetta, for instance, the Jetta is like for China and North America. The Jetta in Europe, they got the Golf, which is a different thing. So
it's an old man car.
And that's actually why the Golf is more expensive than the Jetta, too, if you look at the numbers. It's like, wait, isn't one just a sedan version of the other one? Not quite. So anyway, long story, the CC, the Volkswagen CC, which some may remember, maybe will be a classic in the future because I don't think I sold a whole lot of those.
It was a little unique,
that's the European Passat.
Right.
Whereas we get the American Passat, or whatever it is. And now the Arteon is basically because the CC was in such great demand. And this is, again, very similar to the European Passat you would get. So what it is, it's much more premium when you drive the vehicle. It's a lot more expensive. So, great deal, $38,000. $38,000?
It's still a
you
lot.
could buy a whole lot of Accord or
Right.
Camry. It might be really hard to get an Accord or a Camry at that kind of price, to be honest with you.
Well,
but you're certainly getting like more power or whatever.
So let me just say, given the history lesson, Ryan, as a student, can you give us?
I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
No, I like it. First thing I like is it's a hatchback, but it's a sedan. It looks like a sedan. They're all going away, and I'm partial. I like sedans. It rides really well. I think I was pleased with that. I think I missed the CC had the sportiness of that the direct shift gearbox, the DSG.
Right, so it always had one gear engaged ahead of time,
a dual clutch.
so it's quick.
Yeah, it's a sportier transmission. They have some low speed drivability issues that people complain about. I like that sportiness of it. It shifts quick. This shifts well. It's got nice 8-speed in it, I think, but doesn't have that edge to it. I thought the seat, I couldn't get the seat to go low enough. This is a little nuanced. Sure. I'm taller, so I had a little trouble getting in the seat low enough.
Well, it's a trend. Everything is cut,
right?
But so then you're trying to fit in it.
Right. So that's the belt line's a little high, the sills up. So the windows are a little squattier. It looks good, but that hinders the visibility a little bit. And the rear window, even though it's a hatch, is actually quite squatty, I thought. But I think it's a good-looking car. The infotainment's pretty easy to use.
That's true.
I thought that they did a pretty good job with it. They didn't go crazy. Like the CC had a 2-seat back seat. This has a real seat.
For years, right? They had to add a third seat. And
I thought, which was
right.
A sedan with, it's nice to be able to squeeze somebody in there if you need to. I get it. It's not that often, but it like limits the vehicle somewhat. So this is a normal back seat, and the hatchback I think there's pretty roomy. So it's.
Yeah, I was able to fit my bike in there with the flat seats. We did a family weekend down at the coast, and fit a ton of stuff in there.
Yeah.
We were able to get a lot of gear in the back with the hatchback and have. My 2 kids and my wife and me up front.
I didn't think it was the most sporty. It's okay, but everything's kind of shifting away from that anyway. I get it, but
the issue is when you look at like a 2-liter turbo Accord. There's not that much of a difference between the way this drives and the way that drives. Yeah. And generally with like an Accord, you're going to wind up getting a better deal, probably maybe something more reliable. It's really about being unique. That's what you're kind of paying, which is what luxury cars are quite about, you want to be a little more unique.
So the question is this the affordable German car? You've already said, I want a German car. I'm going to spend this money. This is what's important to me. I don't, a Camry and an Accord don't appeal to me. but you don't have to go to a BMW 4 Series, or a 3 Series GT. You don't have to go to an Audi A7. At that point, does it make sense or still, save your money and invest it?
I don't know. I think it's a very poor value proposition. I mean, if you really want a German car, I mean, we'd slice it however you want. Okay, I really want a Korean car. But I mean, there's more affordable German cars. I mean, you could buy a Passat. You could buy, a pretty high content Passat for less money. So I'm not sure if it really makes other sense, other than saying, hey, I want something to be different.
It's
I want
unique.
to be unique.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're going to move on from that. We have a lot of information on the Arteon on consumerreports.org, and we'll see how it performs in our testing. It moves us on to our question segment. Remember, TalkingCars@iCloud.com. Send the video questions, send us text ones. We love them. First one comes from Kevin from Hawaii, and he says, my question is about auto braking features in new cars. I own a 2018 Toyota Prius Prime and was wondering if there is any way to test the auto brake function on my car. I would hate to drive it into a wall and not have it stop. Jake.
We would hate to have him do that as
I
well.
would hate to have him.
Any car that you own.
Do not do that.
Do not do this.
Yeah.
Do not do this. Do not try to test these features. These features, if there's something wrong with it, it's going to give you a warning about it. But here's the issue: is that I would hate to drive. You drive on the wall. Don't drive on the wall. I mean, here's the issue: these systems are not 100%. They absolutely help. They absolutely prevent many crashes. However, you need to drive this car as if it does not have it.
Exactly.
So the best advice I can give you is assume it will not work and drive that way.
Pay attention.
And pay attention. The truth is it will, you know what? It may not pick up the wall because it may not be spec'd for that wall. I mean, generally these things are designed to prevent you from rear-ending another vehicle.
Right.
So it may be looking for a vehicle, and if you have some colored wall, who knows if it's going to pick it up.
Right.
Just don't try it.
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home.
Or at work, or on the road, wherever you are.
Yeah, I mean, we can try this because we have a closed track and we have a vehicle. It's actually over here in the studio, but it's like this vehicle that looks like a car, and we can do this, and we can do this safely, and we do spot check these and make sure that they're working.
It breaks on purpose, and we could assemble it.
And they do, but don't. Sorry.
Okay. No, Kevin.
Don't do it.
Don't hurt your investment. Our next question comes from Bob, who asks, the trend these days seems to be low-profile tires on both trucks and SUVs, many with 18 to 20-inch wheels. I've even seen 45-section tires as factory options on half-ton pickups. I know this is styling-driven, but I have to wonder about the function factor, as he says. After all, these are trucks, and by definition, work capability should be first and foremost. Are these low-profile tires a good idea for these types of vehicles? So first, Ryan, give us a little explanation on what a 45-section tire is, and then are they good ideas?
Right. So what he's referring to is the tire size on any given tire will say it says 265 70 R17, right? Okay. 70 is the 45 that he's talking about.
So it's the sidewall?
Yes. Okay. So you have the section. The first number is a section width. So the width of the tread is 265 millimeters. Mm-hmm. The 70 is 70% of that. Width is the height of the sidewall. All those numbers dictate how big this thing is, right?
Right.
So if you're having trouble following that, I mean, let me just say that tire sizes is probably among the stupidest, way of doing anything, because you follow it, 265, that's millimeters.
Right.
So we got 265 millimeters,
Right.
45 is a percentage, and 18 is inches.
Right.
So we got metric, we got inches,
percentages,
and they're just numbers. So if you don't know what they are,
it gets
don't feel
crazy,
bad.
and there's a million different sizes.
So X equals a pi over percentage.
It's not Fahrenheit. It's
right.
And to his point, a 45 series sidewall is a very short sidewall. So this is a low profile tire. You'd see this on like a sports car, right? Yeah. So and you are seeing this now more and more on trucks and SUVs because it looks cool.
Is there any benefit?
So there is not a lot of benefit. It's mostly for looks. A work truck, like if you're using this truck for work and you might be going off-road, this is not a good thing, because what actually happens, I'm going to get technical again, what actually happens is when you have a wide tire like that, the footprint that's actually touching the road gets narrower. And with a tire that has more sidewall, it's longer. Okay. That's more advantageous for traction on some off-road applications. So the footprint's different. if this is a show truck that you're going to these shows or whatever.
In 45 years
Yeah,
now.
listen, it's not unsafe or anything like that. It's just it's a different look.
Okay.
And the biggest thing is pay attention to this because you can go from an 18-inch wheel to a 22-inch wheel, and the overall diameter of the rubber is going to be the same. The sidewall is just shrinking, right? That 20-inch wheel, that rubber could be $100 more per tire. It could be a ton more money, and people don't realize that when they buy these fancy vehicles, and then they go to put their first set of tires on it, and it costs them $3,000.
The other big
oh my
cost
God,
is when you hit a pothole.
Right.
So I mean,
the other thing.
this is just a huge problem with these things. And here's another more disturbing thing: is that because when you go and you have these narrow sidewalls, and you see this, that's all the tire you see, right? It hurts the ride. So what they're doing with these tire compounds, they're making them soft because now we get the ride back. And as they get them softer, you hit a pothole with this 45 series tire.
Right.
Now you got yourself a $500 wheel that you got to go buy, which you may not have that if you had like a 60 series or something like that.
Yeah. So it's there. I don't want to say there's less functionality. It depends on kind of what you're doing with it, but it's not necessary. I mean, you're not getting.
Show.
Yeah. Well, you're not. I don't think you're not. You're definitely not getting like a more performance out of it because, like in some sports cars, you see these tires and there's some benefit there. But I think on these big SUVs, we're leaving that area and it's becoming more of an aesthetics thing.
So excellent information, and we have a lot more tire information on consumerreports.org. So check that out. Our final question comes from Paul from California. With the new BMW-powered Toyota Supra, can we still expect Toyota reliability? Jake.
All right. So first of all, correction. I wouldn't say it's a BMW-powered Toyota Supra. I would say it's a BMW.
So Toyota badged BMW.
I mean, look, Toyota went and they tuned things and they made it their own in some ways, and it's got a different steering wheel, I guess. But I mean, there's a lot to that vehicle that's truly BMW, right to, the iDrive system, and I mean, there's so many components. It's
the heart of it.
The heart of it.
Engine
It's basically a BMW Z4 with a different body and different tuning. So you're talking to the right people, right? I mean, we go and we make predictions about reliability. And for a vehicle like the Supra, which obviously we're not looking back at like old Supras from the 90s, we're looking at, what are we going to look at when we're going to make that prediction? And when we have a new vehicle, we look at similar brand. So like if it was a brand new Toyota, generally we would say, okay, well, let's look at Toyota reliability. It's going to be similar to that. On this vehicle, we're looking at BMW reliability.
For both. For the Toyota and the BMW.
Yeah. But yes. So the BMW Z4, we're looking at BMW reliability. For the Supra, we're looking at BMW reliability. It's basically those are the parts.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
where the parts are coming from, kind of have to look at that, right?
Sure.
Yep. So pretty straightforward answer. It's going to be rated as a BMW for the first 2 years until we get
data. I mean, as soon as we get data, we'll switch gears.
Excellent. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Talking Cars. As always, make sure you send your questions in to us, talkingcars@icloud.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.